Hello SolidWorks community. SolidWorks 2022 is just around the corner. It features many enhancements to help you work smarter, work faster, and work together. We have focused on quality and robustness, so your tools are more reliable than ever. And of course, many new features you won't want to live without. Each year, you face new challenges. You rediscover the old ways of working are just not good enough. At SolidWorks, we agree. Each release, we make significant strides to improve the tools you trust. We also are transforming our ecosystem with our 3D Experience Works portfolio. You take what you already know and love with SolidWorks and supercharge it with all of the System-based technology. So you work smarter, work faster, work together. This year we feature a long-time customer in the Netherlands, U-Boat Works. This fall, they are launching their Nemo submarine. It is one of the most sophisticated pieces of underwater tech available to consumers. It's an award-winning, revolutionary design and personalized for individual use. We are so proud to be part of their innovation, as well as your next great project. For now, sit back and take in everything new in SolidWorks 2022 and the 3D Experience Works.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're just going to wait another 30 more seconds for the rest of the people to come in. I think everyone's grabbing some lunch and joining, so just give it another 30 more seconds and then I will get going. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so long, and we will get going soon. Right, there we go. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to another launch event. Unfortunately, again, because of COVID, we are stuck in a virtual world, but not who's all bad news. We got some really good content for you today. So this is a great opportunity to engage. If not in person, we're going to engage with the chat during the next 2 hours. And yes, hopefully we'll be able to be in person a lot more frequently in the future. So I'm going to jump straight in. We haven't got a lot of time today. We try to compress as much of the content today as possible to give you the most important content as quick as possible. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen and then we can get going. All right. Oops, sorry about that. Let me just open my PowerPoint. There we go. So again, my name is Quinton Berger. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at MECAD Systems, and I'm proud to introduce the entire team that is going to be joining today. So if you guys want to turn your camera on and say hello, I've got Irfan, who's going to be joining through the 3D Experience platform. I've got Brandon Dry, who's going to be taking us through the SolidWorks 2022 content today. I'm very, very proud of the team. We have Bjorn, Wesley, Pierre, and Rudolph. And we, as you can see, we're a combination of SolidWorks experts, mechanical design professionals, and our 2 lead AEs as well. So very, very proud to welcome the team, and we're going to be covering different topics through the course of the next 2 hours. Thanks, guys. So the agenda for today is just a quick welcome, a little bit of a MECAD update, and I'm going to be covering MyCAD tools. Then we're going to jump straight over into the What's New 2022, the user interface, some really cool enhancements with parts, assemblies, drawings, and some crazy performance and large design review in both assemblies and drawings, which is going to revolutionize how you work with large assemblies. I'm going to be going over to Vion on visualize, then we jump over to Wesley on routing and electrical. We then pop over to Rudolph as he's going to talk about some of the new simulation tools in SolidWorks 2022. And then we go to Pierre, who's going to be talking about PDM, which has been one of our massive growing products over the last 2 years. And then we head over finally to Irfan onto 3D Experience platform, and we're going to cover some of the exciting things that's happening on the platform. And that's going to be it in 2 hours. So it's going to be a lot to cover in 2 hours. But we've decided to break up some of the content today into a series of Tuesday webinars. So over the next 3 weeks after today, we're going to be hosting a series of these short 1 hour webinars on Tuesdays at lunch. So we're going to do a visualize. Next week, we're going to have a quick little visualize session for about 45 minutes, and we're going to cover a lot more content on visualize and those really cool animations that you saw with the Nemo sub. We're going to go into more detail and dive into some of the amazing things that you can do with visualize, bringing your designs to life. Then on the 9th, we're going to be talking in more detail around manufacturing and automation with MyCAD tools, some really crazy cool tools that we're going to bring to you, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then on the 16th, we're going to deep dive with Raymond and Brandon into large assemblies, tips and tricks with SolidWorks 22, and really working with large assemblies with SolidWorks 2022, and really getting to grapple to use some of these new fantastic features that's been brought out. So just a quick, I'm not going to spend long. I need to just spend 10 minutes talking about what's happened to Mika during COVID. Where are we going? Where have we been? What have we been up to? And like all companies, COVID has given us a chance to self-reflect. And what we did is we took some of the core key figures and the key people inside of MECAD, and we really wrote down the DNA, what makes MECAD very special and unique. And one of the things that we did is we put up our core values, and we have it all over our walls. Our mouse pads have it on. So we've got it everywhere now, and really to write down our DNA, what it means to be at MECAD, and what kind of service that you can expect from us, and what kind of delivery we can do, from who MECAD is and what our DNA is. And I'm going to run through it quickly. It's our commitment to not only understand the technology that we provide you, but really understand your business and understand the issues that you have in order to meet your goals. Passionate, vigorously passionate, as you would have come across a lot of the people you would see that we ooze with passion for not only our product, but for you guys, our customers. We value excellence and we value quality, and we always try and put our best into having excellence. We've got enthusiastic service, and we always strive to give you guys enthusiastic service and be polite and humble and have a great attitude. Boldness is very, very core part of who we are. We always try and push the boundaries and really challenge the status quo. For example, Brandon, that's delivering this address today, was in high school maybe a year or two ago. He's an intern at MECAD, and we gave him the biggest responsibility that we have to run Solidworks 2022. And he's actually gone ahead and done his CSW professional certification on Solidworks, and we're taking him and we're giving him the big stage. And he really put his hand up, and that's the kind of characteristic that we have in MECAD. Inspiring confidence and innovative initiative is one of the things that we really, really drive as a core foundation of MECAD. Then we wrote down, well, what is the point of MECAD, and what do we really focus on, and what do we really do? From a point of view, and you'll see HubSpot popping up, and we'll talk about that in a second. And what we've done is we want to enable you to thrive by supplying engineering software, technology, and services through mutually beneficial business relationships. And we've got some of those key highlighted points there. And this is, again, not only the DNA of Mika, but really why are we existing as a company? We're not just some company that sells you SolidWorks. And we've really, really seen our customers thrive by engaging with us and really building relationships. And it's something that I really want to encourage you guys to do, to reach out to us and really bring up, enable that relationship. And what we've done is we've broken up South Africa into various territories. We've got territory managers now with a massive team. We've added an extra 20 odd people to MECAD during lockdown. So we're just over 60 people inside of MECAD now, which is a really something that we're really, really proud of. And we are one of the largest resellers in Africa. And we're really, really proud to support some of the largest companies in South Africa as well. Very, very exciting times. Then I'm going to switch gears straight into MECAD tools. Now, before I do that, maybe I did mention HubSpot briefly, but what we've done is we ourselves as a company not only invested in extra people for our team to support you and make this vision and focus a priority for us and to enable it, but what we've also done is we've invested software for ourselves in order to make sure that the communication runs streamlined throughout our business, as well as using technology to best serve you guys. So what we've also done as MECAD Systems is we've signed an agreement with a company called Visitive in France, where we've actually got the sole distribution rights to a product called MECAD Tools, which I'm about to launch and show you. We've run some minor pilot projects already, and it's been incredibly successful. And this is a product that's been in Europe for about 10 years. And we are going to give this to you for free for a year with subscription. So this is something that I really want to encourage all of you to do. It's a subscription benefit for you guys. And I really want to spend the next few minutes talking about what is this MECAD tool. So it's a collection of 50 apps or 50 applications that you can use in your SolidWorks to enhance it and really give your SolidWorks superpowers. There's apps for design, drawings, project management, production features, there's administration things, there's project management, printing options, drawing templates. It's incredible. I'm only going to show you 3 or 4 of these. We're going to have a whole session in 2 weeks' time around the MECAD tools. But this software is available right now to all of you that's on subscription, and I'm going to allow you a chance to go and grab this when I do a poll later on. But I just want to run through 2 or 3 of these things quickly. So I just want to show you, well, what is MECAD Tools and what does it mean to have a MECAD Tools app. This is a little application that can open, and this is a tool called Smart Drawings. This is one of the 50, and this automatically creates SolidWorks drawings. So I know this sounds like, we've had this with predefined views, but I'm sure a lot of you would have identified with the fact that if you've got a predefined view with some model items, you put a drawing view in and you put a model in and throw some dimensions in, and it's more of a gimmick than anything else. It doesn't really work. So what Visiotip did with Move Apps is they actually went and created a full interface, and I'm going to show you how this works. It's really, really impressive. So what we've got is the app that we load inside of SolidWorks, and you can actually go in and select, add the current model that's open. So whatever SolidWorks model you've got in, it'll automatically just bring it into the tools as they had there. Now the app also, or the tool also allows you to go in and select as many parts or assemblies as you like, and what it'll do is it'll go and bring all of its children across, and you will be able to create drawings from those parts, sheet metal parts, weldment parts, assembly parts. It doesn't really matter. You can even go and select folders. Then you've got options to create or use templates. So you've got templates for sheet metal parts, assemblies, and drawings, and you predefine that and you use that template for your company standard. Then we're going to go in and look at ways to name those drawings. And you can, again, go and have options for your naming conventions. And then we're just going to go and select where we'd like to place the location of those drawings after we've finished. Now we've got predefined options, or not predefined, but selections for options for dimensioning. Do you want to use automatic dimensioning? Do you want to use model item dimensions? What kind of annotations for parts, assemblies, drawings? You've got a lot more control as to what kind of information you want on those specific drawing views. Then you can go and select as you like, again, from the drawing objects, assembly objects, dimensions, weldment cut list templates, location of templates, bill of materials templates, anchor locations. It's the amount of options is crazy for this, which gives it the power. Then you've got options like do not replace existing drawings, create detached drawings, calculate the scale automatically 1-to-1, create a sheet metal for every body of a weldment part. So it's going to break all the bodies in a weldment part. It's going to break each one of those bodies up into its own view. Then you push OK, and then SolidWorks goes in and runs the drawings. And you can see it places the view on the drawing, automatically lines them up, places the dimensions, puts the bill of materials up, and you can see that it's done a pretty neat job of this. You will also see that it creates different sheets. There will be obviously some point in time where you need to do a bit of cleanup, but because of the sort of automation that SolidWorks has over the years, they've got these dimension placement tools which work really, really well. And you can see this is actually done it by itself. There was no input by me during this time. And you can go in and just clean up your drawings. So for real basic sub-assemblies, instead of letting your design team go and create, or even if you want to not have to create all of these things manually, use a tool like this to go and push out drawings really, really quickly. So I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of that. Then these are my 2 favorite ones: sheet metal manufacturing and cutting optimization. So sheet metal manufacturing is really taking a sheet metal part or an assembly with sheet metal parts in it. Then it's going to go in and open up each sheet metal part, create a DXF of that, and save it in a folder for me. So I'm actually going to do that one live. So I'm going to move over to SolidWorks and show you how this works. So if I've got an assembly over here with some sheet metal files inside of it, there's a MECAD Tools app that you just start, and then you just go to the button here that says sheet metal manufacturing. So again, it's going to go look in at the sheet metal files inside of my assembly that I've got. It looks at multi-bodies inside of the parts. So if I've got a sheet metal body with multiple sheet metal parts inside of the body, it will extract all of those as well. Then you can see it actually lists it here as an item. And you're more than welcome to actually go and look at a preview of these or open these up as you like. But you'll see the quantities listed there, the thickness is listed there, the material is there, and what configuration is there as well. I'm not going to go and spend in a lot of time, but you'll get the idea that I can go and select tons of options. I can do file names, properties. I can look at how this thing's generated when it's pushing out a DXF file of all of the sheet metal files. Do I want a DXF, DWG? What scale do I want? Do I want an isometric view above? Do I want the thicknesses grouped in a single file, or do I want multiple files for multiple thicknesses? Do I want to export the geometry only, sketch lines, bend lines? And it's really as easy as that. And you've got all of these options here, which I just push apply. So I'm going to do this live. It's not a video. So this is running live right now. It goes to my junk folder, which I've made, and it's going to create the DXFs file. You can see it's throwing it out in the background. It's done. So if I go to my junk folder now, you can see it's created at 12:15. There is the first drawing. There's the second drawing. And if I just open this up in eDrawings to look at the resultant DWG file, you can see it's taken one of those sheet metal parts. It's got a 2 mil thickness. There's one of them. Scale 1:1 DXF exported, just like that. So imagine taking any subassembly or an assembly and just throwing out all of the DXF files within a click. A massively valuable tool for you guys to use. I think this is a super tool. Going back, I know I'm moving quickly, but we're going to have a whole session on this. We've got cutting optimization. So look at the picture in the background. I've got a massive weldment structure, but I need to order the raw material to actually buy and make this part that I've designed. So it's difficult to optimize how much material I need, how much scrap do I need. It's difficult to calculate the length and to actually nest that. So what this tool does is it actually takes the drawing and it allows me to nest the tubes in my weldment structure to best fit and to optimize how much material I need to order when I'm doing this stair design. So all you've got to do is you've got to go here and say cutting optimization. And then you can go and make a new project and you can go and give it names and titles and project names and all those kinds of things if you like. But I'm just going to go here and say import a SolidWorks table, and it's going to go and actually go and ask me for a SolidWorks weldment cut list here. I'm just going to go and select that guy, and it says there's got a round tube there and a round tube of 2 different profiles, and I just say okay. It says yeah, some of the lengths are the same. Do you want to merge them? Yes, that's fine. And you will notice now that the tool has done this for me where it's asking me to have a look at the information of my cut length. So you can see I've got that profile over there and that profile over there with these amount of lengths with quantities. So very easy. What I'm going to do here is go to define the profiles. Each profile will have their own tab. And I can then go and say, I want to optimize. I can buy material at 5 meter lengths and maybe up to 9 meter lengths. I got a very generous supplier who can give me 9 meter length tubes. And then I need to increment that's in 500 mil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell SolidWorks or MECAD tools to go and optimally nest and figure out which is going to be the best size raw material to go and order. It actually tells me that 6.5 meters is going to be the optimal size that I need to purchase in order to nest those. And it would be the same kind of thing with the size of here. I can actually run the same kind of iterations, and it'll give me a result the same. And you can go and do different increments there as well, and really get to the basics and see which performance gives you the least amount of scrap. But what I can do is I can just override that and have like a compulsory order. So I can tell it, I only want to order 6 meter lengths. I've used my tool to figure out what's going to be the best, and I'm just going to use 6 meter lengths. And then what I'm going to do is just randomly go and give random colors to all of my material. And what I can do as well is look at the positioning. So what kind of profile is this? It's a round profile, and I can choose the orientation to cut this. So obviously if I've got an L profile, I can give the instruction on how I want them to go and cut this thing. Round. And I'm going to do round again. Then I've even got options to do blade width. I can choose the blade width of 5 mils, the initial material waste, so I can do the calculations of that. And then I'm just going to say report because I'm running out of time. I just want to show you what this does. Check this out. So what it's going to do here is going to give me a profile of my cutting. So it's going to tell me I need 6 meter lengths, and these are the quantities. And then if I go down, it's actually going to nested the tube. It tells me I need 4 lengths of 6 meter tube, and I need 2 quantity of that length, and I need to put item number 3 from my bill of materials over there, and then item number 1, item number 5, and then it's going to nest it as well. Item number 4, 4, 2, 2, 7, 6. And then it even goes as far as telling me how much scrap material I'm going to have left over per tube and in total. So from a manufacturing point of view, I believe this is an incredibly handy tool. Instead of spending hours trying to calculate this by hand, you can use this to generate a cut list and provide this to your operations team. And that's really, really handy. So that's a brief, fast introduction to the tool from my side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And I'm just going to do a poll quickly. I'm going to do the poll. If you want to grab my tools, if you've got subscription, please just say yes or no, or maybe if you don't have subscription, let me know as well. If you select I don't have subscription, we've got promotions at the moment to bring you back onto subscription, and we will give you MECAD tools. So however many you like, if you've got a team of 10 or 15 or 20, we'll give it to you for free for all the team members that you've got in your team. So please just poll, and then we will automatically connect with you guys and provide you with your licenses. There's our YouTube channel has all of the tutorials, so we'll guide you along that. So I'll just give it a few seconds for you guys to fill out the poll, and then the technical team will be in touch with you guys with an email just to point you in the right direction and get that ordered and running for you. I'm going to let that poll go for a little bit. Brandon, you can maybe jump on and we can start the content.
Just to confirm, you can hear me all is great, Quentin?
All good.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Brandon, and I'll be presenting some of the topics to you today, ranging from the user experience up until the graphics portion. Now, just before I continue, I would just like to thank everyone who made presenting this event possible for me. And just to all the viewers out there, welcome to our event this year. And I'm so excited to show these new features that they've added in SolidWorks 2022. So just to give you a brief agenda of what I'll be showing you today is the user experience changes, parts, assembly performance, assembly features, drawings, imports, and then finally our graphics. So now diving into our user experience, you'll see what's new in 2022 is the ability to use the command search in your shortcut bar itself. There are also some couple of changes to the coordinate systems, which will be shown, as well as the reference geometry shortcut, which I can tell you right now is one of the best additions in SolidWorks 2022. There has been some changes to the system options info, dismiss messages, and our notification and message bar styles. And you can now also view the progress within the pack and go feature itself. So to showcase this, I've opened up one of the thrusters for the assembly. And if I quickly go back to my PowerPoint over here, you'll see on the right-hand side, this company has included 4 thrusters to be used in the assembly. Now, the 2 thrusters at the front are at an angle, so advanced modeling techniques might be required to insert these 2 thrusters. So in this case, I'm going to click the S key to access my shortcut bar, and by typing in coordinate system, SolidWorks will automatically show this feature for me. So now you don't have to go to your command search bar on the top right-hand side each time you want to search for a feature. You can choose to insert the command by itself or to show the command within SolidWorks. And this is especially useful for those users out there who are just getting started with the program. So since I know it's under reference geometry, I'm going to select the coordinate system. And you'll now notice in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to add your numeric values and your rotation values to your coordinate system. So in this case, I'm going to populate it with these rotations, since the team has gone ahead and worked out the exact position of our thruster. And notice how it changes as I insert these as well. By clicking OK. SolidWorks inserts this coordinate system for me. Now, just for those eagle-eyed among you, you'll notice some changes to the graphics aspect of the coordinate system. You now have these lines on each side of each axis, and this indicates that you can select a plane on your coordinate system itself. So to show this quickly, I'm going to go to my heads-up view toolbar and select the coordinate systems option. And by hovering over these, you'll see they actually highlight in orange. And this allows you to select both the origin within the coordinate system, your faces, and your axes themselves. And by right-clicking on the face, you can now add a sketch to your coordinate system. So now you don't have to use your reference geometry and create a plane that way. SolidWorks 2022 allows you to use this method directly from here. But what happens if you have so many origins and so many planes that you don't want to use the heads-up view toolbar and select these options here every single time? Well, now in SolidWorks 2022, if you press the Q key, SolidWorks will temporarily show all of these features for you. If you left-click somewhere else, it hides it. So in this case, I want to add another thruster. So I'm going to control drag this component, press Q, and control select both the component and my coordinate system, and add my mate using the quick mates toolbar. Now to get it to the other side, I'm going to use my shortcut menu again, select mirror components, press Q, and select my right plane again. It's as simple as that. Right click and confirm the change. Okay, but now the manufacturer also requested that he needs separate access to each file. Now we've all been used to using the pack and go feature now, but what about the users out there who are working with these massive assemblies? Well, now new in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to see a progress bar on the bottom left if your assembly is busy with the pack and go feature. And this especially makes it very useful for those users out there with these massive 10,000 component assemblies. You'll now be able to see how far it is along the process. Click Save, and SolidWorks did that for you. In this case, it did go quite quickly because this is a very small assembly. Now, just looking into the system options, as I told you, there were some changes to the dismissed messages. Under the system options in your messages, errors, and warnings tab, your dismissed messages are no longer located here at the bottom. It's a completely separate tab, and this also allows you to hover over them, and SolidWorks will display a brief message to indicate to you what that message is all about. Just for those users out there who might not know what this entails. Now, just going back to my presentation, I'd just like to follow up with the notification message bar styles. You'll see on the left-hand side is the new look in SolidWorks. If you have, let's say, for example, a save reminder there on the bottom left, they gave it a slightly new modern look. And just quickly there on the bottom right-hand side, there is this new pop-up that displays in certain document states. In this case, it was set to read only, and SolidWorks clearly notifies you that your file is in read only in this case. And for those PDM users out there who try to save their files, if their files are checked in already, SolidWorks got you covered. It'll now notify you immediately at the top of your screen. On the right-hand side, you'll notice there are some info bubbles in your settings. Now, we've all been there. We've all done that. When we go and explore through our settings, we might not know what the exact setting is about. Well, now if you hover over the info bubble, SolidWorks will clearly indicate to you what that setting will do. Now, obviously, I can't cover all the content within the time I was given. We would be here for about 2 days with all these additions. But I have included these notable enhancements slides for you guys. So you have the ability to select entities and save them to selection sets within your feature property manager. And you can add comments to the selection sets themselves, just for those users out there who add comments to be kept in the design office. And then we can also use the component name and description option when toggling between different tree display states. So this will be shown in the assembly portion, but you'll see there on the right-hand side, by clicking on tree display in your tree and selecting component name and description, you are able to select various states or elements. And this obviously makes the display of your tree much, much shorter, just displaying the necessary information that you need. The quick copy setting is finally back. Now, for those users out there who use this in SolidWorks 2020, SolidWorks has introduced this again in 2022, now allowing you to copy the distance or the number only, as well as the units, by just simply left-clicking on it and copying and pasting it. Now, before we continue, I would like to take a deeper dive into your thoughts of the new coordinate system in SolidWorks 2022. Would you use the new coordinate system to create sketches? Now, feel free to answer this in the poll. Me personally, I think it's a very interesting one. We've all been used to using the reference geometry when creating planes, or also using our existing faces. So feel free to give me your thoughts. Quentin, what are your thoughts on this new coordinate system?
Yeah, I actually think there's a few enhancements as well for mating with coordinate systems in 2022 as well. So they're definitely listening to feedback from people, and I really like this. Coordinate systems get used a lot, and I just think it's been many years since it's had an overhaul. So this is very, very good.
And obviously it makes life easier for the designers at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll.
Sure, okay. Guys, I'll have a look at your answers in a few minutes' time. There is not enough time as well. So as we go through, feel free to send through your thoughts and I'll have a look at them as we go along. Now, moving on to the next aspect. We have our hybrid modeling enhancements in SolidWorks 2022. Now, if you are working with your BREP bodies, you can now work more easily with existing SolidWorks features using your existing chamfers, extrudes, or even your drafts, which will be shown now. We have some changes to the whole wizard dimensioning methods. We can now finally add a bi-directional draft, and you can use the pack and go feature after you have selected the save bodies feature or even the split part command, as well as a new sectioning method, the newly anticipated stud wizard, and our change to the configuration properties setup. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to open up the dashboard that's located within the assembly of the Nemo. Just give that a second to open up. And just by looking at this, the Nemo was designed by a company called U-Boat Works in Switzerland, and they do design quite luxurious products. So by looking at these handles, they do look quite simplistic. So they do require some changes. So I'm going to open up that part and start editing. Now on the left-hand side here, my solid bodies, you'll see these are BREP bodies. For those of you out there who don't know what BREP bodies are, BREP simply stands for boundary representing bodies. And this was imported from an STL file. Now, Boolean operations are no longer required when working with these BREP bodies. And to showcase that, I'm going to use my shortcut key, select chamfer, and I'm going to add a brief chamfer on the right-hand side here and type in 2 mils. And for those of you out there who don't know what Boolean operations are, it's just simply the term used for when working with either dumb solids or just general advanced part modeling techniques. If you want to learn more about them, feel free to come to our MECAD training where we can explain more about this to you. Now we also want to add the logo here at the top. So I'm going to select the sketch and perform a boss extrude of about 1 millimeter in depth. And notice how quickly it did that. I can now simply use one of the features in SolidWorks on a body or part that was not even made on this software. Now I also want to add a draft on the side here. So before I do that, I'm going to have to make a plane to do that. So I'm going to use my Q key, and then you'll see all these planes are displayed over here. But before I do that, I'm going to type in reference geometry and select my plane. After that's selected, let's try that again. There you go. Click 0, make it coincident to this face, and confirm the change. Now with this change already here, I can control drag this plane. Let's try that again. There you go. And add my split line. Simply select your plane, select your face, and after it's been created, you just click shortcut, select draft, and then after that's selected, you'll see now in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to add your draft in 2 directions at the same time. So by specifying my direction of pull and my parting line, in this case it was my split line, inserting my angles, in this case it's 6 and 3, clicking OK, SolidWorks automatically puts that in for me. So no longer do you need 2 separate draft features. SolidWorks can do all of that for you in one. I'm also going to add a hole here on the top. So I'm going to select my planes, click on plane 1, and select hole wizard. Now new in SolidWorks 2022, when using the slot hole method, you have a new dimensioning scheme. So you can choose between the centers or from the arc lengths. So in this case, I'm going to specify my type, go to my positions, and select my location. Now by using the tab key, I can toggle between both the horizontal and the vertical orientation within a few clicks. Okay, in this case, let's try that again. Simply select your hole wizard, your plane first, and there you go. It inserts it for me. Okay. In this case, I'll show you the hole then after these presentations. I'm going to save this and perform a brief pack and go of the part itself. Now, the manufacturer did request the bodies must be saved separate. So I'm going to go to my file and select the pack and go. But before I do that, I'm going to have to select on my solid bodies folder and select save bodies. Now by selecting that option and selecting the select all option, SolidWorks automatically exports that into separate part files. So now if I save this document and I go to my pack and go feature, SolidWorks automatically goes to the locations of these part files and it inserts all of them in one folder for me. So in this case, I'm going to specify my location to be under my second folder of my pack and go, select only this part and click save. So now quickly just to demonstrate what that looks like, I go to my pack and go folder again and select the handle option. It'll briefly display what this model looks like. Now you'll see these gray facets here on the right hand side. Currently in 2022, there is no option available to hide these facets. The only way you can hide them is by right-clicking on a face that's discrete in this case, and selecting the change transparency option. So this is especially useful if you want to show your products to your clients just briefly whilst you are in SolidWorks. I'm going to save this and return to my assembly. And now I'm going to showcase to you the new sectioning method as well as the stud wizard. So for that, I'm going to select on the handle over here, open it up, select my section method, and then you'll see here, new in SolidWorks 2022, you can now select a cylindrical face or an axis when viewing your models. And it automatically updates as I move them, just like it would with the other sectioning methods. Okay, this part does need some threading though. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to change the existing thread method that they have there. Now notice with these threads, for those of you who use the thread feature, it can slow down the performance of your PC. So that's why we would recommend using your cosmetic thread features rather than the thread feature itself. So I'm going to suppress this, and under my features, hole wizard, I can now select the stud wizard option. So just by simply following the same procedure as you would with your hole wizard, you specify the stud options and you specify the position. Now in this case, we have an existing cylindrical body. So I'm going to select this edge, and notice how SolidWorks automatically imports the diameter for me. Select my profile. In this case, I'm going to specify it to be M22 up to the next edge, and also insert my undercut. And that obviously saves a great amount of time since you don't have to use your revolved cut method. Okay, but what about the configuration change that I told you about? Well, if I go to my file properties, you'll now notice there are two new tabs: configuration properties and the properties summary. Now under your configuration properties, you simply follow the exact same workflow as you would with every other property menu. Select your description in this case. In this case, I'm going to type in new thread. Specify it to be only in this configuration. Notice that's also a new feature. And just repeat the process with my material. Select material. In this case, it'll be all configurations. And now if I go to my prototype, you'll see my material is not, or my description rather, is not indicated there. Now, if you go to your property summary, it's basically the reverse. So if I go to my description, it'll show all the configurations associated with that property itself. So in this case, I'm going to change the part number. In this case, in prototype, it's here. So I'm going to type in 5 in the end and click OK. And it's as simple as that when working with the new configuration menu. It makes life a lot easier. Okay, I'm going to close these documents and return to my PowerPoint. Now on to the structure systems. Now for those of you out there who don't know what structure systems are about, a link will be provided at the end of the webinar session. And feel free to go and watch that video just to see what this is all about, especially if you don't want to add all these Wildman features separately. Structure systems allows you to add all these briefly within a few clicks. So in 2022, we have a new secondary members option to choose from. Some changes to the gussets and end caps. It's now also supported in your structural members. And we can also add our connection elements now for those bolted connection weldments, which is very, very useful in this case. We can now also mirror across two planes at the same time. Very great stuff. And we can edit our sheet metal flange profile on a cylindrical edge. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to open up the cradle for the Nemo assembly. Now, this member here at the back is going to experience quite a lot of force. So for that, I'm going to have to add additional members to support it. So I'm going to enter my structure system environment, select secondary member, and in my secondary member property tab, you'll now notice there's an up to members option. Going to select from point, select my sketch in this case, select the members that I need it to be connected to, specify my length, and then under my profile, I'm going to select ANSI, pipe standard S40, and my pipe 1.5 in this case. You can go ahead and make your own custom profiles if you like. And now by exiting this feature, it automatically goes to the corner management tool. I'm going to specify my trim type, change my trim order, and deselect the allow extrusion option. And now if I confirm that, you'll see within a few clicks, it automatically adds these members for me. Now, what about those connection elements that I told you about? Well, if I go to insert connection element, you'll see here on the left, SolidWorks already specified these for me with the standard that they already gave to me. In this case, in SolidWorks 2022, a sample has been included, and there are various types that you can choose from. In this case, I'm going to select my base plate. My size is plate 100. And then under my placement, you simply select your member that it needs to be placed on, and SolidWorks automatically puts that element in the center for you. Okay, let's give SolidWorks quickly a brief moment to load. There you go. Let's open that up again. And there you go. So if you want to change the distance or the dimensions of these elements, you simply pin it to add another one immediately, select your member, and then at the top of the placement property manager, you specify your size. In this case, I'm going to type in 150, and within a few seconds, it automatically inserts that for me. So that's especially useful if you want to change your connection elements on the fly. Now I'm going to add an extra element here on the left as well, seeing that they are going to be replaced quite often. I'm going to specify my type to be L-clip. And under my placement, I'm going to select these two members. And by using my tertiary reference entity, by hovering over the member, I can just simply select one of the reference planes that appear automatically, and SolidWorks will automatically put that in the center for me. By selecting my cut scope option, I simply click on both of these members and click OK. And what that does is it automatically cuts into these two members, just making it smart components in this case. Now mirroring it is very simple. I'm going to use my shortcut menu, select mirror, and by using my new Q key function, I'm going to select the planes that I would like to mirror it upon, select my bodies, and click OK. If you want to add your gussets and end caps, it's no problem in SolidWorks 2022. You simply go to your weldments, select end cap, and select the end of one of your existing members. Now I'm going to have to mirror these as well on the other side. So I'm going to press Q again, select right plane, select my top face, highlight my bodies, and right click to confirm. And as you can see, with a few steps, it automatically put that in for me. Now, just while SolidWorks is loading, Quinton did mention in last year's event that you had the ability to insert sheet metal profiles on cylindrical edges. While now in SolidWorks 2022, you can edit these profiles immediately within the property manager itself. So if I go to my sheet metal and select my edge flange, I can select this option over here, select this edge, and now in 2022, you can edit the flange profile from this menu and click finish. How simple is that? It's so great to be able to edit these because now you don't have to flatten them, add your cut extrude, and then fold them back up again. It makes life a lot easier in this case. Now let's wait for Solidworks to load again. And there you can see it automatically imported for me. I'm just going back to my PowerPoint. There are some notable enhancements that I quickly want to go through with you. If you use edged contours on bends, it now is reflected in your flattened view in SolidWorks 2022. And this includes your inscribed text or your split line features. If you select your linear sketch entity as a direction reference, it now does not put it in your entities to pattern in SolidWorks 2022. So for those of you out there who use other sketches as reference, you can now immediately perform a pattern using an existing sketch entity itself. And this also includes your copy text, where you can copy existing text within your sketch pattern itself. There's also additional redo support for parts. So when performing redos, you can now redo changes to the hole wizard, your simple hole, and your linear pattern. And this also includes changes made via the instant 2D command, your reorder features, and your rollback bar. Very, very great stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you will love that new addition. Now, Quentin's going to launch another poll. I'm interested in hearing your answer for this. Have you ever broken your model using the undo button? Now, I think a lot of us have done that in the past. I'm also guilty of this, especially when showing quick features to your clients and you don't want to close the part. You just want to perform general redos after you've undone them about 1,000 times. SolidWorks did add the additional redo support there for you. So just let me know on the poll and I'll have a look.
Brandon, the guys, we've had about 30% are saying, wow, yes. And then about 60% have said, yes, it lit up like a Christmas tree. And then only 5% of you say, what is undo? I'm a machine. I never go back.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so there are people out there who would love it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I'll give you about 10 more seconds to answer that, and then I'll move on to the assembly portion. Okay. Now on to the assembly performance aspect of SolidWorks 2022. As usual, your assemblies open up a lot faster with all the new additions. Just looking there briefly on the right-hand side, you'll see that this assembly opened up about 39% faster compared to 2021. Major improvements there. And also, if you are in your LDR mode, for those of you who don't know what LDR stands for, it's your large design review mode. And this allows you to open up your massive assemblies within a few seconds. So in this case, I've included a video. And the reason I've included this video is it shows a timer at the bottom to show you how quickly this opens up. This assembly is 6,031 components, so it is quite big, and quite a few of you would probably think, wow, this would take a few minutes to open up. Well, however, with large design review mode, this assembly opens up in 13 seconds. Well, now new in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to open up the drawing in detailing mode within LDR. So now you don't have to go and look for it on your PC, specify the drawing mode. Everything is done for you within the large design review space. Now, for those of you who don't know what the detailing mode option is, it's basically your large design review mode for your drawings aspect. So detailing mode also allows you to insert your brief smart dimensions, as you can see here, as they indicate. And this also includes your nodes, your balloons, surface finishes, blocks, even your tables, which will also be shown now as a new addition to drawings, where you can add a whole table within your detailing mode itself. Now, new in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to open up your subassembly within LDR, just saving you a lot of time. But it gets better. You can open up your subassembly within resolved or lightweight mode whilst you are in LDR. So that makes it a lot faster when working with these assemblies. Now that's the assembly performance. Moving on to the assembly features. Now if we left click on any component, the move with triad automatically appears. We have some changes to the quick mates control, as well as the ability for SolidWorks to automatically determine the seed instance for your pattern-driven component pattern feature. Wow, it's a mouthful. And then we also have the new configuration table, which was highly anticipated and highly requested, as well as the exclude component from BOM option, which is in the part itself. So by going back to my SolidWorks, I'm going to open up the piping system within the dashboard itself. And this system does require some changes. So I'm going to select this component over here. And for those of you wondering why this breadcrumbs menu is appearing by default, this can be changed within your system options. And you can always press your D key if you want to show it wherever you are clicking. So using the breadcrumbs, I'm going to open up the subassembly. And by clicking on the components on the left and dragging it using my controls on my move with triad, I can move it three-dimensionally and I can rotate it at the same time. So now you don't have to right click on your component and select your move with triad option anymore. Now, if I want to add these mates, I'm going to use the control select method and add my coincident mate using the quick mates toolbar. Well, now in SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to confirm your mate immediately after you've inserted it. So this menu doesn't disappear like it usually would. It stays here until you've confirmed your changes. So I'm going to repeat that again. I'm going to add another mate to the hole over here and specify it to be locked in this case. Same goes with this component over here. An additional copy needs to be made. So by control selecting both these faces, I can add this concentric method and choose to lock the rotation itself. I'm going to add another mate to the face and flip the direction and click OK. Now for that linear feature that I told you about. If I go to my assembly tab under linear component pattern, you'll notice the pattern-driven component pattern feature. If I select this component and I right-click and I select on the holes that I want this component to be located, SolidWorks automatically determines the instances based on my selection. While now in SolidWorks 2022, regardless of where you place the seed component in each of these holes, SolidWorks will still recognize where to put it for you. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to select on this component again, edit the mate, select this hole over here, and then access my pattern-driven component pattern again. Click Confirm, and repeat the process with my other fastener. Now this can also be done to components who also need to be mirrored. So if I go back again, select my feature, and select the hole on the bottom left here in this case, you'll see SolidWorks will automatically determine where to put that component for me. Okay. With that change made, I want to demonstrate the new design table, or that the configuration table, I still need to get used to that, in SolidWorks 2022. So by adding my extra configuration and typing in primary system, that, and click OK, I can still go ahead and suppress my features or my components as you usually would. And do remember that you can change the configuration of your part immediately within the tree itself. So in this case, I'm going to suppress all these components. There's some hardware that we don't require anymore, so I'm going to suppress those. And if I go back to my configuration manager, under the tables dropdown, you'll now notice the configuration table is automatically imported for you. So if I right click and select show table, I can now see all my configurations over here, and I can add an additional one. So in this case, if I type in emergency system and click enter, it automatically creates that for me. And this also allows you, by right-clicking on it, to rename, delete, add a derived configuration, or to switch to it immediately. So in this case, I'm going to suppress all these components, change the configuration to emergency system in this example, and click apply. So no longer do you have to go to your feature tree and manually select your suppression states. SolidWorks can do that for you within the design table itself. Now, in my emergency system, there are some components that I don't need anymore. So I'm going to select on each one of them and select suppress. Now, all these changes that you make in this assembly is automatically recorded in your table. So you don't have to worry about that aspect. If I go back to my configuration table and I show it, SolidWorks will automatically import the changes that I have made to these features, similar to the design table. Now, what happens if it gets too cluttered? SolidWorks did add these components here on the bottom left for various sketches and features, components, custom properties, and your configuration parameters. So if you want to change your part number, for example, I can just choose the custom properties filter. And within a few clicks, I can type in my new values and click apply. And now if I go to my other configurations, you'll see it'll automatically update as it would usually. Now for the bill of materials changes. If I click on the drop down here of my tables on my feature tree, and I right click on my BOM, I can show the table in a new window. But notice if I select all these parts, it automatically highlights them for me on the right hand side, apart from the component that I selected now. Now this is because of the component properties option called exclude from bill of materials that was selected. Now, for those of you who work with this every single day, hiding and showing your components like this in your BOM, you can now automatically do that with each part that you insert in your assembly. So I'm going to open up this part over here, go to my configuration manager, right click on my property for my configuration, and then I can set to exclude it from my BOM when inserted into my assembly by default. So now I don't have to do that each and every time I make a brand new assembly. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to close it and return back to my PowerPoint. If you want to access your various quick mate alignment options, you can go to your system options and choose to show it always in 2022. And in a nutshell, these were very, very useful features that were added in our assembly environment. And I trust that a lot of you will use this quite frequently in the new version. Now, there were also some changes to the QuickMates context toolbar. You'll see in 2022, if your OK button is not showing, just remember to right-click at the top of your menu, select Customize, and then under the context toolbar menu, just choose to show your OK button over there. You can also automatically load component data within your assembly, and this can be specified in your system options again. And what this does is it basically hides the options for selecting your lightweight or your resolved modes in the assembly environment. Manually manage resolved and lightweight modes is your usual assembly feature that you would use. And you can also exclude failed components in section views by simply selecting the option that appears on your screen if your section view is tangent to a cylindrical face, which does happen quite often. Now we're going to have another poll time quickly. Do you use the design table when designing in Solidworks? Now the reason I'm asking this is a lot of our clients contact us asking for various assistance with regards to making multiple configurations at the same time. And by using the design table, you are able to completely add, let's say, 20 configurations by just clicking your button a few times and by copying and pasting it in your Excel table. So just let me know, and then I'll have a look afterwards. I'm interested in hearing your answer. Quentin, what are your thoughts on these new additions?
Yeah, we got about 60% of people that definitely use it from time to time, and then about 20% of people that are pretty proficient and jacked up with Excel, and then about the rest is 20% who don't really use it. This is to me, this is so much easier to manipulate the model. It's just really nice improvement.
Yes, definitely.
Brandon, we got another 10 minutes left, so maybe we can just continue with some of the big ones on drawings and important graphics.
Okay, awesome. So just moving on to the drawings aspect then. In this presentation, you'll see that there are a few changes made to the detailing mode environment. So just quickly off the bat, you can now also add your whole tables within your detailing mode environment, and you can toggle between different circular dimensions as well. There is a new symmetric linear diameter dimensioning method included, as well as a brand new geometric tolerance user interface, which will be shown now, and also the ability to add a detailed cut list in your BOM, flat pattern predefined view, and the ability to export HTML files from your 3D PDFs. So by going to SolidWorks, I'm going to open up the drawing here on the right in my detailing mode environment. So with this drawing open in my view palette, you'll notice there are some views included to this model. So if I go to my second page and I select my view palette, I can drag and drop my views within a few clicks. But this is possible because of this one setting in document properties. So if I go to my performance option, you'll now notice the setting was moved from system options to document properties, and you can save model data in your drawing and include standard views in your view palette. So if I go to my first page again, select the drop down of whole table, I can now add my whole table within my drawing immediately in detailing mode. Now here is where things get interesting. You can open up a drawing from any version in SolidWorks by using the detailing mode in 2022. So in this case, I've opened up a drawing from the year 2010, and we don't have access to these files anymore. But as you can see, it has imported successfully, and it's quite fast as well. So if I go to my view palette, it's not included in this case, and I cannot add specific annotations to this part here. And this also depends on the year in which this was saved. So for example, if you saved this in 2016, you would then be able to add your smart dimensions on existing entities. And do note, you are able to export these drawings in PDF format as well, just to show that to your clients. So now if I go to my other drawing and I open up the cylindrical part of the assembly, I can now add or change my dimensions within my drawing environment from being radius, diameter, or display as linear by simply left-clicking on my dimension and toggling that option. Very, very great stuff. But it gets better than that. If I go to my dimensioning types, I can add my symmetric linear diameter dimension to my part. So if I select my single option here on the left, select on my axis and select a point, SolidWorks will automatically add that cylindrical dimension for me. And there are multiple methods. If I go to my multiple mode by clicking Alt-M, I can select my axis and multiple points at the same time. And SolidWorks will automatically import them for me and position them, as you can see over here. So if I want to rearrange them, I can just simply drag along this toggle and then it'll automatically realign them for me. Now, the other major addition to SolidWorks 2022 is the ability to have a detailed cut list within your drawing environment. So this part over here consists of about 3 main weldment components, and I want to add the cut list of the assembly within one BOM in SolidWorks. So if I go to my BOM over here on the left, under my BOM type, I can select indented and select the detailed cut list option. This was available in 2021, but now in 2022, you can select the detailed cut list option with your top level and your parts only selected. So this takes the cut list of all 3 components and it inserts them into one bill of materials table for you. So now if I click OK, it automatically imports that for me. And last but not least, if I go to my drawing over here on the right-hand side and I choose detailing mode, you can also add flat pattern predefined views to your model. So in this case, this is what your model would look like if you were to show your flat pattern of your drawing, but you can also separate the bend lines of your part itself by going to your heads up view toolbar and selecting the view bend lines option. Now it used to be under your sketches in 2021, but now in 2022, you can toggle them separately by using that option. And then finally, we can now also add another geometric tolerance to one of our parts by selecting lightweight mode and opening up the drawing from here. So now if I go to my geometric tolerance, you'll now notice a brand new interface if I select on any edge. You'll be presented with this dialog box where you can, as usual, just simply select your tolerance method. And by going through various tolerancing steps, you can add your ranges, offset zones, features, all the way up to your symbol. So under my range, please don't crucify me. I'm no GD&T expert. But if I double click on them and add my range in this case, it'll automatically import that for me. So now you don't have this massive dialog box appearing in your graphics area anymore. Adding datums is simple. You simply select add datum, specify your values. And if you want to edit them, you simply double click and then you'll see these blue arrows appearing on each side. Select the option and then select new frame in this case. Add my new tolerancing method. Let's add 2.25 again. Go to my material condition, select my maximum material condition and click done. It's as simple as that. Simply click add and you can also remove your mistakes if you make them. If you've made your drawing in an older version, you can update it very easily. You simply double click on your option and choose to format it automatically. And this also goes hand in hand if you want to use inspection in SolidWorks as well. Okay, now there were some extra information that I wanted to show you. Detailing mode is a lot faster in 2022. As you can see there with the table provided there on the bottom left, with about 4.5 times improvement between 2022 and 2021. Here we can see the detailed cut list option, which was explained earlier. We can now select your top level only and your part level only within the BOM options itself. And then you can obviously save your 3D PDF in HTML format after you've completed your process. You can also crop an alternate position view in SolidWorks 2022. And balloons for sub-weldment cut list items will now shown correctly when working with 2022. You'll no longer see these asterisks anymore. The display style has been changed in your BOM as well within 2022. And that is it for our drawings aspect. Now just moving on to the import very briefly, I've included a video just showcasing some of the new import capabilities. When working with IFC files, if you export them, you can still export them with the various units. So in this case, you'll see they specified it to be inches. But where it gets interesting is if you import these IFC files, you can specify which geometry or which bodies to import by simply selecting your import settings and by choosing your various classifications for your IFC files, just to import the necessary information for when designing in SolidWorks. So by giving it a few seconds to open up, SolidWorks will open up that IFC file that you saved by only importing the most relevant forms of geometry. And one of the great new additions in 2022 is the ability to export DXFs in color. Now, this is very useful for the Sigma Nest users out there. By simply clicking on your DXF or DWG output, you select the sketches option, and by indicating different manufacturing processes, such as your lead-ins, your lead-outs, you are able to indicate that now with various, with a few colors in your sketches. Now note this does not work when working with your splines, and when using text, you have to use other sketch entities such as your line tool or either your cylindrical or your circular sketch entities. And this also works with your center line in this case. Very, very useful stuff. You can also export your e-drawing file properties within SolidWorks. And just to, Quentin did mention we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to quickly move on to our graphics aspect and just showcase to you the new additions to 2022. When working with your lightweight mode in assemblies, your textures now automatically stay updated, whereas in 2021, it would only stay updated in your resolved mode. There were some changes to the cosmetic thread displays, some new additions to our 3D textures, and our silhouette edges performance has been increased dramatically. So to showcase this, I'm going to go to my SolidWorks, and I'm going to open up the chair assembly. But before I open it up, you'll see this one chair here on the right is dark brown. Now this has to be changed since the customers specified a different color. So if I go to my components and I select the chair, I can simply delete the existing texture as you would with 2021. Go to my drop down, select organic in this case, switch to my leather mode. And now if I save this, and I close this and I open up my assembly, notice it still shows that chair to be in a very dark color. But now if I switch to my lightweight mode, it'll automatically pick up that change that I incorporated in my design. But now we also need to change the texture options for our knob. So I'm going to open up this part, this component quickly. And by importing my appearance from the miscellaneous tab, 3D textures, and selecting the knurled bump 10, I'm going to select on the face that I would like to specify, edit the appearance, and change the magnitude of the bump appearance. And if I type in 3D texture, it'll automatically import a texture or create a texture based on the appearance that I specified. Well, now in SolidWorks 2022, they increased the performance of this tool. So your maximum element size can now also be defined to be as little as 0.03 in this example. But in this case, I'm going to keep it low since it will take quite some time to render. And by saving this and closing this, SolidWorks will automatically put that in there for me. Now, do note that if I use my cosmetic thread feature, it's automatically included in my stud wizard, my hole wizard, as well as the other features that use the cosmetic thread as well. And this does change according to the appearance that you insert. So this also makes your performance of your part a lot faster if you don't want to show your thread features. Keeping the graphics triangle display low on your component is always a top priority. Now, just a quick comparison before we end off. The silhouette edge performance, sorry, let's just go that again. There you go. In 2022, the silhouette edge performance has been changed quite a lot, with the average FPS having been increased by about 11%. So your performance will be a lot faster in SolidWorks 2022. And those were the additions from our user experience up into our graphics. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and I'll gladly answer them as we go along.
Brilliant. Thanks, Brandon. Super job. Well done on your first presentation. Very good. I think what we're going to do is we've got a half an hour left before we wrap up. So we're gonna quickly move on to Vion, who's going to be introducing SolidWorks Visualize and what's new in 2022 Visualize. But I think all of you would be able to take advantage of these new features in 2022. I know I've been playing with the drawings, the large design review stuff. We've been working with the development team at SolidWorks and giving them lots of feedback from you guys. And they've really taken away almost all of the limitations in large design review for assemblies and in drawing. So I'm going to encourage all of you to jump on and really have a look at that. It's very, very, very handy. Okay, cool. I think Vion, if you can jump back on, and then we will get you going with the Visualize, and then we're going to move on to Wesley afterwards. So I'm going to duck off. Thanks, Vion.
Cool. Hello, everybody. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Is that cool? Okay. Hello, I'm going to talk about a bit of Visualize. By the way, my name is Vion. I am the Visualize specialist here at MECAD. So it's my honor to show you the amazing things that Visualize added, well, that SolidWorks added to Visualize. Some people would say I'm too excited about it, but now we are. So some of the features, we're going to take a look at the match camera. Okay, so you know how it's very difficult to align the perspective of the model actually to the backplate as well. I'm going to show you a bit of that. It's an add-in for the shadow catcher. So this is very, very useful. Most of these I'm going to show you today. So I'll explain it further on. Pattern instance, where you can actually now incorporate patterns into Visualize without having multiple instances. We have the scatter pattern that gives a bit of randomness. The animation grouping, camera switching, and the output viewer. That I'm not going to show today, because that I'm going to leave for our Visualize webinar on the 2nd of November. So next week, Tuesday. Okay, so please come and watch that. It's definitely worthwhile. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so now going to Visualize. I've got this beautiful U-boat open, and you'll see I switch from preview to fast to accurate mode a lot. I'm simply doing that for the performance space. So it's very, very easy to just switch quickly using the 1, 2, and 3, literally just 1, 2, and 3, to switch between the 2 or the 3. Okay, so let's take a look. We are going to add an environment here because we need to make this actually look real, because having these type of marketing collateral from day one of the design stage is priceless. Honestly, it's going to give you so much more interest into what your designers want. Not your designers, your clients want, your customers want. They know exactly what they're getting themselves into with the investors. You can show them, listen, this is happening. Look how awesome it's going to be. Give us money. I mean, come on, that's awesome. So now I'm just going to add a quick HDRI. Now, it's been long since supported by Visualize. Is the HDRI scenes, call it bubbles, basically. You'll see that because of it looks like a little 3D bubble that you're going to into. So now this has the perfect light source for us, the perfect little sun. Okay, but we don't necessarily want to be on a rock near a lake. We want to be on the ocean, on a ship or something. With the images, normal, still 2D images that's been so widely distributed now, and it's stock images, it's very, very easy to get your hands on one of these. We call them plates, as in backplate. So again, it's simply drag and drop operations. It can't get better than that. Okay, so now that we have this, it's looking good. We are going to more commercial clients on this one. What we need now is the perspective. Now, anybody and everybody who uses Visualize or the previous versions will know that the most difficult thing about a backplate or the still image on the back is getting the perspective of the model and getting the perspective of the backplate to match. It's honestly, it's constantly, it's a hit and miss. Although not that bad as I'm making it seem, but I'm very dramatic, so bear with me. Now, with 22, visualize 22, we can simply say match camera. Now, this is very cool. So what it does is it throws a bunch of lines on your screen, and it's going to display the horizon, line extensions, and the vanishing points. Okay, so what this will do is very quickly and easily allow us to line up our horizons by using the horizon and some of the ship's features to get that perfect. And we can use these on the Z-axis, line it up with the ship to get the perfect. And like the name says, it matches the perspective exactly. Okay, and you'll see now it's fully defined. Perfect. And there we go. It's literally as easy as that. I mean, come on, that's amazing. Okay, so next step, we need to make sure that the shadows actually align with the backplate shadow. It's going to be weird having two sort of sun sources or light sources. Okay, so all we have to do is, just as previous versions, we're going to select the scene or the HDR I added previously, and we're simply going to say rotate until it matches with our shadows. Okay, looking very, very cool. One small detail, one issue, you'll see that the shadows, or the shadow of the Nemo, kind of bleeds off to the right, and it's not capturing that wall of the ship that we have here. So what we'll need to do with Visualize 2022 is we're going to add some primitive geometry by using our project models, new model, and I'm going to choose wall. In this case of the wall is going to bring in the primitive geometry of literally just a flat plane, and I can then manipulate that, and oops, all over the place. There we go. So this is honestly going to take the longest time, and it's not even that long. So yeah, like I said, just line it up, move it until you are until you are satisfied. See, move it a bit up. There we go. Okay, so now with Visualize 22, we can use this primitive geometry that's the primitive geometry is everything on here. Okay, that you can add directly in Visualize. So now what it does is it's taking the primitive geometry and it's literally catching the shadows. So that will allow us to position this, for example, this wall, and we are going to go and say, use this as a shadow catcher. Okay, so we're just going to go to General, and now you'll see that, oh, no, not this one. We are going to 3, select our wall part, and then, okay, where's my geometry now? Okay, so basically, let's just try that again. Might have clicked something different now. New model, wall, pop this in, just position it. Okay. Like I said, the moving of the model is also a lot easier, a lot faster, as Ivan mentioned now. Okay, just find a detail. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our primitive geometry, you can, like I said, go to the part, and we can say shadow catcher. So what this does is it removes the model geometry and it only captures those shadows of the actual part of the model from the light source itself. So you'll see I can just simply move it around, make sure that it captures those details, and there we go. That's perfect. It's honestly, I love this. Like I said, I don't have a favorite feature that's been added. Everything is just amazing, according to me. Okay, so now we need to capture this Nemo, we need to capture it in the natural habitat. So, underwater, obviously. Again, I'm just gonna drag and drop the backplate on there, another still image. Gonna add a new camera called underwater. Okay, and now I'm gonna start making use of configurations. So configuration is also very, very powerful. We're going to call this underwater again. Underwater, okay. Yeah. So now, any changes we make now will reflect into the configurations. What we can also do, I'm going to add another environment. For now, the Dazzler would look good. I use that for most because I love the reflections, or the light source is very even. Okay. If we can now position this, get the correct perspective, line everything up, looking pretty cool. Okay, so now what I like to do is a bit of a tip. I'm going to add a new camera and call it free camera. This will allow me to actually work with the model, and then I can lock this final view of mine. Sorry. Right, so now I can position everything, look around, position all of my external assets like my lights, look at the scenes, all of that stuff without affecting the actual final camera that I'm going to take. So very, very quick and easy to add a light. Going to position it there, right click, new light, and then match current camera. Now what this does is it takes obviously the current camera orientation and it just adds a light right in front of the camera. So that obviously you can't see it. I'm going to change it to a spot because we need to get the same light source as is from the backplate. So we simply say add a 200 brightness, the little spotlight radius is fine, and now I can play around with the cone angle as well. Leave it about there. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Now you'll see that this wall came with us. Very, very cool. We can just right click on this wall on the model, and we're going to say hidden in current configuration. And that will hide it from every other configuration that from this specific configuration. So I don't know, that's a very cool feature for me. Okay, so we are still on the free cam. What we need to do next is adding more detail. Okay, so if you let's for example, let's add a fish. Okay, to show you the patterning of it. Very, very cool as well. I'm going to say cool a lot because it's visualized. It's cool. Okay, so again, simple drag and drop. Keep everything as is. The import. And I'm now simply going to start moving it around. Again, model manipulation is still as easy as ever. Oh, that's a very big fish. All right, so now let's just reorientate that. Zit. There we go. Okay, snap this one to the floor again. And now, without creating any extra instances, because in the previous visualized versions, you can have patterns, but it will require like a whole list of models on the right-hand side here. Now it adds a single feature, and it's the pattern feature. So we're going to go to the Advanced tab, and we're going to click New Pattern. And you'll see it adds all of those instances, copying it across. And the beautiful thing is it's not using the model data itself. It's simply the graphical representation for it. So performance is going to stay exactly the same. Okay. So it's not as if it's adding model upon model upon model. It does its magic and then you're all good to go. Okay, so again, we can just move it around, set our instances. As you'll see as well, now we have the scatter type of pattern. What this does is it just throws everything there. You set up your position or the ranges that you want it in. Say, I wanted 2 mils left and 2 mils right max. And you say, listen, I want actually 10 options, 10 objects rather. And now you can simple with drag and drop, you can now change the parameters, popping it over there, keeping it like over there. Okay, here you can also adjust the rotation to give that extra. It's not like a fish is always parallel to each other, so just saying. Okay, so now you'll see every time I click random, it will randomize it until a point that I am happy with it. Yeah, so obviously a bit high over there. Randomize again, and we can actually bring it down a bit. Set the model more or less like that. We can also move the entire pattern if we want to. Like I want it a bit left and downwards. Okay, cool. So now, again, you can just simply select the models that you have pattern or one of the instances, and you can move them around independently of each other. Okay, so it's still counting as a normal object in Visualize. Yeah, and pop that one somewhere up there, this one as well. And now, just tidying it up a bit. And now we have our beautiful Nemo in its natural habitat. Okay, so this is where I would go on and explain to you how awesome the animations are, what the new features are that they added, and believe me, it's awesome. Trust me, it's awesome. But I have a bit of limited time here, and I want to keep something for the upcoming Visualize webinar that we're going to have. Again, it's on the 2nd of November. So now, let's just get back to here. So, for example, like I said, I'm going to show this animation grouping, the camera switching, and the output viewer. I'm going to show to the on the new webinar. Otherwise, here's a little teaser for you to look forward to. So you can see it's going to be much easier for us to create the exploded views from Solidworks itself now, from Visualize itself now. No need to import motion studies for now, or just for an exploded view. So I'm going to play that again and just let it really sink in how cool it is. So now you'll see the lacquer exploded view, and you'll see as well the camera switching. Usually should have been done in a third-party program, but now we can incorporate every single thing in Visualize. No need for Photoshop or any other video editing program. Okay, and that is all from my side.
Really cool. Really cool. I think Visualize made a massive improvement in 2022. And again, you guys have
You
this.
have no idea how excited I am.
Your premium SolidWorks, so go and have a look at that. We are running out of time a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip electrical, and I'm going to ask Wesley to do a video for our blog, and I'm going to share the information to you guys so that we can come and join us on our social media platforms, and we'll share some of that stuff. So we're going to move on. Sorry, Wesley, I'm going to just bypass you and go to Rudolph, who's going to talk about simulation, and then I'm going to hand over to Pierre after Rudolph. So let's just go straight over to Rudolph. Rudolph, over to you, man.
Thank you, Quentin. Let me just share my screen quickly. Quentin, just to confirm, you can see my screen.
Sorry, yes, I couldn't find the mute. Yeah, got it. Perfect.
Okay, awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our SolidWorks 2022 online launch. So as Quentin mentioned, I'm Rudolf van den Berg, and I will be taking you through the SolidWorks simulation and the SolidWorks flow simulation enhancements for 2022. All right, so let's start with the simulation 2022. So connectors allow you to simulate the desired mechanical behavior without having to create a detailed geometry or define contact conditions. Since connectors are virtual, you don't need to model the actual physical 3D geometry to represent them. So a new addition to the connectors is the linkage rod. It enables you to simulate a rigid or flexible behavior between components in an easy yet powerful way. To define this connector, you can choose among the cylindrical faces, circular edges, or vertices. This actually came from an enhancement request submitted and voted for by some users. And I know some of you will make good use of this. So in simulation 2022, blended curvature-based meshing is now the default measure. Blended curvature base is a strong measure that can mesh complex geometries. Some of you may know the blended curvature base mesh was introduced in 2016, and the reason you probably didn't use the blended curvature base mesh is that you either didn't know that it existed, or perhaps you thought it was too slow. So with the recent release of SolidWorks simulation, the blended curvature base mesh has matured and become significantly faster and more robust. Another reason that makes the blended curvature base mesh attractive is that it uses multi-threading and also parallel multi-core processing. That enables you to quickly mesh components, especially helpful for those large assemblies. The next one is the enhanced bonding and contact. This is a new enhancement that advances solving time and improves your contact accuracy. As a result, your models with bonding and contact interaction will solve much faster, and the contact results will be more accurate. And then lastly, the SolidWorks Simulation 22 includes an enhancement that selects the best equation solver for your nonlinear, your frequency, and buckling studies. The selection of the best equation solver, usually it's the Intel Direct Sparse solver or the FFE Plus solver, but it depends on the number of equations, the load cases, and the mesh types, the features, contact and connector features, and obviously also your system memory. But enough of the actual just the facts. Let me quickly show you inside of SolidWorks. Alrighty, so the Nemo submarine uses a specialized hand wheel to secure the hatch while diving. So engaging this latch fingers requires a minimum of 500 newtons of contact force. This will ensure almost any passenger is capable of opening up this specific hatch. So taking advantage of your cyclic symmetry by cutting the model down to a third will save your setup time and your solve time. The model can be further simplified by removing that tie rod and replacing it with a new type of virtual connection. The linkage rod connector accepts cylindrical faces or vertices to represent the rod ends. The end conditions can be defined as either your fully rigid, your pivotal, or even spherical. We'll select the cylindrical faces and also select the spherical end conditions to properly simulate the function of the tie rod. We can even choose from several cross-section shapes and define the section dimensions. SolidWorks Simulation 22 now defaults to the powerful blended curvature base measure, as I mentioned, which can now accept mesh control values outside of the maximum and minimum global size range. This means you can refine or coarsen the mesh in any region without limitations. This helps you reach your ideal balance between solving time and accuracy, which is what you want. Next up, so just applying that last mesh. Okay, next up we will apply the torque to the center of the rotor. 95% of adults can apply at least 16.5 Newton-meter of torque to a steering wheel of this size. Since we're analyzing a symmetric model, we cut that in 2/3. After running this model or running this analysis, we can review or look at the shear, the axial or bending loads of the virtual linkage rod, as well as solve for the contact reaction forces developed between the latch finger and then the latch flange. So we are looking at that particular contact force. So multiplying this contact force by 3 is less than 500 Newton requirements to properly seal that hatch. So we need to change the design a bit. Let's try moving the connecting rod attachment 10 millimeters further away from the pivot. This should add additional contact force without requiring additional torque. As you will see now, we're just doing that contact force again. There we go. The small change increased the contact force by 38%. We are now safely past the 500 Newton-meter minimum. And I think that's it. So as you can see, SolidWorks Simulation 2022 incorporates some serious enhancements for us to use. Okay. Next up is the SolidWorks Flow Simulation. So one of my favorite modules is the SolidWorks Flow Simulation. So let's look at what is new for 2022. A lot of changes in the flow simulation plots. First, we have the flux plots. So for those of you that don't know what flux plot does, it enables you to display or visualize how much heat transfer from one component to another by conduction, and then the heat that flows out of the fluid through convection or radiation. So now in Flow Simulation 2022, you can display a flux plot in the Transient Explorer. How amazing is that? Just for the interest sake, a transient analysis is where the flow velocity, the pressure or temperature are changing with time. Another useful tool that you have at your disposal is the compare tool. With this, you can now merge plots from different projects to see critical results in one image, and also create a plot image displaying differences between two cases. For the goals, you can also now show equation goals based on defined goals after you run the calculations or after you run your analysis. And then the probes, using the probes in flow simulation is useful when you may want to know the numeric value of the plotted field at any particular location. Added in Flow Simulation 2022, you can copy the actual probes with their plots that define the probes to other projects. And then lastly is the crop region. The crop region is accounted for when evaluating your surface parameters. But let me show you this inside of SolidWorks. So SolidWorks Flow Simulation 2022 offers some exciting new plots, as I mentioned, and the ability to analyze results across different projects. The designers of the Nemo were testing the LED lamps that could run at 3 different brightness levels to adapt to the varying underwater environment conditions. Instead of testing each individual scenario, we are going to use a transient analysis to test the different levels. As we switch from one setting to another, this will enable us to test the temperature change as we switch it underwater. The Transient Explorer tool that allows us to visualize results through a transient analysis. SolidWorks Flow Simulation 2022 enables us to display a flux plot now from within the transient analysis. And this gives us quite an in-depth numerical results of how power is moving through this complex system. We can now create new equation goals that can be created after we run the initial analysis. And this will allow us to process values of other calculated goals. In this example, we're going to plot the maximum temperatures of all the LEDs in the entire transient analysis. Quick and easy. We've also ran several steady state studies in a new experimental power mode where each LED in the lamp can be set to different power settings. This experiment can then determine if there are optimum configurations that maximize brightness and minimize the heat at the circuit board. Looking at the plots, comparing the results of 2 projects is essential to understand the similarities and the differences. but side-by-side analysis and visual inspection doesn't really tell the entire story. A new merge plot option allows us to combine multiple results and highlight the overall maximum and the minimums. And then the new different plot allow us to display the differences from one project to a reference project. Also, the results summary tabulates all the data to provide an overview of over multiple projects. And then we're going to go back to our scene. So the scene plot, as I mentioned, has now also been updated to store things like your model orientation, part visibility, and the zoom states. Both the type of plot and the view orientations are essential to getting the full picture of what is happening inside of this analysis. For several new and powerful ways, this is some powerful enhancement that's included now in Flow Simulation 2022, so be sure to check that out if you have Flow Simulation. If not, then get in contact with us. And I think that's it from me, Quentin. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Rudolph. Right, Pierre, maybe you can jump on and then we can jump straight over to PDM.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rudolph. I'm also very excited, being an engineer, very excited about those FEA and CFD enhancements. Thanks, everyone. I'm just going to quickly run through the product data management side. So you all know that's quite a passion of myself, so I'm very excited for the new 2022 of PDM. So new in PDM 2022, there's quite a lot of emphasis put on the user presence and the user interface. So I will also give you just a short demonstration of it, but just to highlight some of the key aspects is the user's preference and presence card. So you can actually add in what you are doing today, or you can also see what someone else did for the day. Then we have a full eDrawings user interface now incorporated into the Windows Explorer interface. There's Exceled one-part integration. You can also now have the ability to open a drawing directly from your add-in in SolidWorks, right-clicking on the file, open the drawing. And then also with the user profile enhancements with regards to profile pictures, and with the Active Directory side, you can also go and edit the different groupings. Then also what Brandon mentioned with regards to the detailing mode. So there was a big enhancement where we now in PDM can support detailing mode. And we also have settings now where we can actually put on conditions to state that files, for example, can't be approved if it is saved in detailing mode, making sure that all of those files are actually resolved before we send that for approval. And then just on the Web 2 side, we also have new previews for neutral files. So Web 2 now supports your normal STEP, IGES, STL, JT, Parasolid files that you can browse directly in your Web 2 browser. And then just lastly, for the Web 2 side as well, is we can configure the data cards now directly with Web 2. So we can just go and edit the data cards and right-click, update the data cards. No need to go and edit your XML data anymore. So let me just, and then on the performance side, we always have big emphasis on performance. So just a little bit of emphasis on it. Again, there's new performance enhancing due to the SQL side that's also enhanced now with the SQL 2016 or SQL 2019. So due to the testings, you can see that there's with the eDrawings viewing capabilities, Web 2 approximately 2 times faster, the data cards, saving abilities, everything is that. So there's a lot of enhancement again to get this user interface and the usability a lot quicker for all of the users. And then just again, I just want to make a special note that SQL 2014 end of life is now at the end of this 2021 Service Pack 5. And just for those that doesn't know it yet, see the 2021 Service Pack 5 launched yesterday. So please go and download it and be on the latest version of SolidWorks. So yeah, please upgrade your SQL licenses. If you need any additional information with regards to the SQL licensing, please contact us afterwards if you want to make advantage of all of this new PDM 2022 enhancements. So let me just quickly dive in. I won't take too much of your time. So I just wanted to show you the user interface and the changes that are updated. So we all know with tight timelines, it's critical to know what everyone in my team is actually doing, from the CAD administrator side to the designers. So now in PDM 2022, you can hover over your user profile pic of your avatar, and you can actually now put in a presence note. So you can actually type in what you are busy with for today. And you can do the same by looking at one of your designers. Let's say, for example, Debbie Designer. I can see that she's busy creating the flat patterns for the vendor. So it's just for us to know who is doing what in what time of the day. Then also new in 2022 is the transitioning from the bitmap preview that we had in 2021. Now we have this dedicated eDrawings preview button, and we can, by the click of it, it will load the fully integrated eDrawings user interface into your preview capability. So that's just such an easier way to go and highlight our files and actually go and browse through the specific files that we need. Okay. Then we also have the option of using the XLEad one part search integration. So we all know that you want to keep your costs low and you don't want to create scrap or bodies that are actually already created, duplicate parts. So with a fully licensed XLEad one part program licensing, you can now go and search for your files. It will go and compare geometrically different files in your vault. And then you can decide according to that geometry. It might be according to the mass. We want the one that's least mass. So the least amount of weight, we want to use that one. I can just click open, load it into my SolidWorks model. It's just such an easier way to go and find all of those similar files to each other, and then I can use it in my SolidWorks model. Then a new enhancement, like I mentioned, with opening the drawings from the PDM add-in. You will all now notice that if you go onto your add-in in SolidWorks, you have a new tab that is the Open Drawing tab. So you can also now browse within your SolidWorks like you normally did. You just right-clicked Open Drawing. Now new in 2022, in the command of the SolidWorks PDM add-in, we can just scroll down to that specific part. We can click, right-click, Open Drawing. So like I'm showing you in this example, right-click, Open Drawing. So there's no need to go and search for that specific file anymore. And it's also independent on what that file name is in your vault. And then just the small changes are very important as well. So from an administrative side, the user and group node is now concatenated into one node. It's just a lot easier for us to do the administrating. And also when we actually want to add new users with our Windows Active Directory, your profile pics that you have there will pull through directly into PDM. We have a lot more options available for information and properties. So it's just easy to go and map all of the user data to the groups. And in this example, you can just see if you incorporate your Active Directory users, you can now easily just go and rename that in the PDM side without affecting your Active Directory user groupings. And then just with regards to the new button available is that you can specify if the file is in detail mode. So PDM will be intelligent enough to actually know if this drawing is saved in the detail mode. And just due to that fact, we can now put on conditions to say that files can't be approved, as an example, if it's saved in the detailing mode. And then just for all our users that are currently using the Web 2, so there's also some additional enhancements with the Web 2. We now have the flat view versus the tree view, and also just your undo and redo button. And then just like mentioned with the native file formats, so we can load the different step, IGES, Parasolid, STLs, JT, all of those different file types we can now directly load with our Web 2 browser, where previously it was only available for your SolidWorks files. Now it's got all of this new enhancements. And then just with regards to the data card, also like I mentioned, you can easily remove properties like project name, project number from the card view. You can have a new button in the administrative side that says show in web card. You can just toggle that on or off. And then you can configure the card directly like you would normally do in your XML file. You can now just directly go and edit your data cards for your Web 2 browser. So once this is saved, it's now just a simple refresh of the browser, and it will directly go and update all of your views within your Web 2 browser. As easy as that. Just right click, update, there you'll see it just updates that setting for us. So Well, all these new user controls, searching integrations, and preview capabilities, I personally feel that SolidWorks PDM 2022 is going to provide you all the tools you need to maximize your production. If you are ready for the upgrade, please contact us and we can discuss the upgrade paths. We are more than willing to discuss all of these enhancements in more detail with you. And then I'm just going to go quickly into just a few extras. So there's a new option now for set variable for file names without extension. A lot of companies quite like that idea where you update your copy tree, your variables. We just want to set that property again. So this is a very good enhancement.
Yeah, I'm gonna interrupt you. Maybe what we can do is just create a little blog post on some extra goodies. I think what's definitely clear about it is that PDM is a massive product for us and our customers, and it's vitally important to improve productivity and improvement. It's huge.
Yes.
So if you're not using PDM, please contact us and we can help you with that. I think what is interesting about again, sorry, we are running a little bit late. I think we're all excited about this new version and we talk a lot. So I've asked Stefan to join. We're going to just wrap it up. We're going to do 15 more minutes and then we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Pierre. Moving on to the cloud, we're going to talk about 3D experience platform, the future, where we're going, where we are right now. It's really gaining some nice traction, and this is really, I'm going to stop talking and hand over to Stefan, and then we'll wrap up. You will hand over back to me, and we'll close the session. So thanks, Stefan. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Quentin. Hi, guys. I'm very excited to be presenting this to you today. Just a note on Pierre's stuff. I think the IT guys are jumping up and down in excitement just from that Active Directory integration. I know IT guys, they love those sorts of linkings. But let's jump into 3D experience. And before I just explain that, I'm going to just quickly explain what it is and so forth, and then we'll go and show what 3D experience is all about and what it can do for you. So 3D experience is a cloud-based product. Just a few benefits listed here of what cloud is and why you would want to go cloud. You're probably already using it if you're using Teams, SharePoint, Office, anything like that. And cloud just means lower infrastructure cost. It's more redundant against failures. It's widely accessible, so you can access it from home, from the office, anywhere, and it's very resistant to attacks. Now, 3D experience in and of itself, I want you guys to think of 3D experience as the add-ins you've always used with SolidWorks, but 10 times more powerful. So no longer just thinking, okay, it's just the simulation add-in, the visualize add-in. Think of hundreds and hundreds of add-ins that you could expand into completely new capabilities you've never had before. And I'm going to show you some of those now. So 3D experience as a product is completely based on collaboration. And we've seen now with everything that's happened in the last 2 years, collaboration is important. When you're stuck working at home, it's very difficult to communicate with your colleagues and address the kinds of needs and so forth you guys need to talk about. And that's why collaboration underpins everything in 3D experience. On top of that, we have data and lifecycle management. When we say lifecycle management, we're not just talking about managing the data itself, we're managing everything surrounding it. So things like the project planning, the creation of the bombs that go to manufacturing and so forth. All of that can be done via 3D experience. And these underpin the rest of the 3D experience, many of the capabilities in it. So hassle-free data management, enhanced design capabilities, so showing the future of design, brand new simulation capabilities, stuff way beyond what you guys have been able to do, and then manufacturing. So I'm only going to show you guys a few of these, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a bit off script. I'm just going to dodge through some of these here, and before we jump into that, I want to show you guys a bit of just what 3D experience looks like to the average user. So here we have a very, you probably have seen this part before, the Moto Knee, made by a prosthetics company in the US. And the 3D experience add-in, many of you that are familiar with PDM, this will look quite similar to you. I mean, it looks a lot like the stuff Pierre just showed. And there's a lot of cool features here pulled from the lessons we've learned from these PDM systems that have been around for a very long time. Things like selecting items anywhere in the tree will highlight that same item on all three sides. Things like reserving items so that I'm the one modifying it. So I've made some changes to the top level assembly. You'll see here it's telling me, hey, there's a change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and reserve this item. When I do that, I'm essentially saying, this is my item. I'm going to modify it now. Kind of like check out in PDM. So made those changes, all of that. So all you have to do is to save is just right click, save, and this will upload it to the cloud file. So we don't have to go and like drop it in a special folder or anything like that. This will sort out all the references, update the files, keep track of the revisions and so forth, and make sure we have an effortless data management system. So with that done, it's just finishing up final few steps. While we wait for that, I'm going to switch to the browser side. And through the experience, because it's cloud-based, a lot of the functions in it can be fully accessed from the browser. And that's what makes it so powerful. So even if you have users with non-CAD laptops that need to view files, perhaps, so here I'm viewing that exact file we were just looking at directly from within a browser. I can zoom, I can do things like explode this, look at individual parts, move items around as needed, and even do things like measure, section, and annotate this, all from within a browser and all with the base level of access from through the experience. Even here on the left-hand side, I've organized this folder structure that I share with the rest of my team. So if they want to view a certain item, they can just drag and drop, and the item will load on their side, and we can preview anything on the platform saved to the cloud. So there we go. We can inspect this drawing, go ahead and look at the BOM and so forth. Now, perhaps I need to look at the BOM in more detail for the entire assembly. So let's jump into my BOM tab here. Now, before I do this, I just want to show you guys, you can actually customize your 3D experience interface. And that's what's one of the most powerful things about it. We can take the design and the system we have here and build the sort of interface and the workflow we normally use in your particular company, and not have some programmer that's worked on this somewhere in Europe said how your items work. So let's take something like that preview widget we had, and we can just drag and drop that into the interface, move things around as needed. Lots of customizability here, and really powerful tools. So I'm just showing you the smallest bit of 3D experience here today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. We'd be happy to sit down and go into more detail. So here on the cloud side, I can see the full assembly BOM. I can expand these items, look at everything related to how I can add additional columns here to look at things like mass and so forth. So really, really powerful tools here. So your ordering team, all of those viewers you could usually needed to have to open stuff in e-drawings and so forth, all of this can be done from within the cloud. Now, lastly, just to address some of the collaboration things, there's a general pervasive view of being able to share items. So if I select an item here, I'll be able to go to my collaboration tab and just share this, or just create a link and send it to one of my colleagues. So for instance, I could just click on this, share, and type in Quentin's name right here and have him view this file on his side without any issues. And I can even give him the level of access directly from here. On the collaboration side, just continuing that, we have access to these message boards. Message boards are a really good way of keeping track of information, making sure everything you do and see is done in such a way that you don't have to have constant meetings and constant updates between members to try and keep track of what's going on. You just pop in on the message board, see what's happened, and you have a good idea of what's going on. You can even direct message some of your colleagues. So let's send a message to Pierre and telling him, great PDM, what's new? And this will pop up as a notification within his SolidWorks 3D Experience interface. So he doesn't have to have this browser side open. Many of the stuff I've showed you, the preview, the BOM, all of that, you can open that on the SolidWorks side as well. We can even give him a call right now if we wanted to screen share and talk about all of these sorts of things and so forth. Now, I'm going to switch back just to my slides and go over a few more things. So I've showed you some previews of various other things, and I just want to talk around what some of these features also have available to them. So when we're looking at the data management side, it's a very scalable. You just buy licenses per user. You don't have to upgrade hardware as your user count increases. Since it's all cloud-based, it scales with you. industry best practices out of the box. I mentioned us pulling from the lessons learned from PDM and similar systems. This also pulls from the Innovia products, which is the CATIA data management side. And it's some of the most powerful data management tools, and some of the best lessons learned applied to that. Immediate availability, 3D experience is essentially ready out of the box. There's obviously a lot of customization that can be applied, and that will take time as with anything. But out of the box, you can start working on it, saving files, revisioning files, improving files without much configuration needed on your side. And lastly, secure access from anywhere on any device at any time. So you can pull this up a tablet, on an iPad, on an iPhone. Because it's browser-based, you're not restricted to the type of device that you can run on. I'm just going to skip through some of these. There's some project management tools in here, tasks and so forth. Advanced issue and change management, multidiscipline BOMs. So giving a BOM to your manufacturing procurement side, or even creating a specific manufacturing BOM that differs significantly from the actual BOM, and so forth. As we were in the cloud there, you could see we could actually modify that assembly BOM directly from the cloud interface. And in future, we'll be looking at ERP integration on the 3D Experiences side as well. So if you have external systems you want to pull in, you can do that. Lastly, just a few things. So sub-D modeling, we've shown a lot of examples of this. I'm not going to go into detail now. 3D pattern shape creator, if you have advanced designs you need to make with algorithmic modeling, that's available here. And both of these are cloud-based tools, and they work with SolidWorks. So you're not abandoning your SolidWorks to use these. All of these tools work wonderfully with SolidWorks. I'm going to skip these again and just speak a bit around the simulation side. Now, 3D Experience simulation is powered by Simulia, which is some of the most powerful simulation solvers out there. I'm just going to show you a few examples as we finish up this webinar. So here we have some examples of the things you can do with 3D Experience. And many of these examples are pretty much impossible on the SolidWorks side. SolidWorks is a very powerful simulation tool. If you just need that little bit more to go a bit further, 3D Experience has all the tools you need for it. So things like the propeller blades breaking over here. We have liquid being compressed in a bottle directly here, blow molding, all sorts of cool simulations in here. And even on the flow side, there's a lot of cool new features that you can pull from, things you might not be able to do in SolidWorks flow simulation that you can now do on the 3D Experience side. It's just some final few examples. Seems I've gotten it stuck. But all of these simulation tools can also pull from cloud solve capabilities. So many of you have laptops or desktops that are quite powerful, but sometimes the simulation just takes too long. You can expand that with the Simulia portfolio. You can take your simulation, push it to the cloud, up to 144 cores, and even with the base simulation licenses, without purchasing additional cloud credits, you can actually already run cloud simulations. 8 cores on the strength analysis side and 16 cores on the flow analysis side. And there's even electromagnetic and plastic injection simulation on the cloud. So if those are particular needs you guys need, you can also pull from those as well. I think we are sort of running out of time at this moment, but guys, if you have any questions about these, I know I've run through them very